Yo, what's up everyone, it's Maffu, and these are the biggest mistakes new players make and how to avoid them in Rise of Kingdoms. Also, make sure you like and subscribe to this video if you're enjoying the content on my channel. I'm trying to post daily videos for you guys. It is a lot of work, so let's get into it. Now the first mistake, I'm going to be going over universal sculptures. Now when you're playing Rise of Kingdoms, you will receive a variety of universal sculptures from green to gold. Now you don't want to waste them even in the early game. Not all commanders are built equally. So for the green commanders, I recommend investing into Dragon Lancer, City Keeper, and Centurion. I would invest into Centurion first to get the bonus Gathering, then I'd invest into City Keeper next, then I'd invest into Dragon Lancer last. Now Centurion is a great farmer and he's very useful into the late game because of his ability to farm gems, because he gives a flat gathering speed bonus. This will be useful for farming gems. City Keeper is amazing in Sunset Canyon, so if you want some extra rewards, you can invest in him early. And Dragon Lancer is one of the fastest commanders in the early game, and he's amazing for running around and collecting runes and joining rallies and garrisons, because in rallies and garrisons, your commanders don't matter, only the rally captain and the garrison captain matter. For my blue heads, I would invest them all into farmers in the early game, starting with Constance. She gives this extra resources for gathering a point. Then I invest in Sarkra next, because she gives a flat gathering speed, which you can use for mining gems. And then I invest into Gaius, because he's all around a good farmer. For my purple heads, so depending on what troop type you want to focus on, you should focus on these commanders. For infantry, it's Sun Tzu. For cav, it's Baibars. For archers, it's Kusunoki. Now, after you expertise one of these commanders, you can start focusing on one of these two. I would go for either Joan of Arc or Matilda. Now, if you don't want either of these commanders, you can save your purple heads for KVK 3 and unlock two new purple commanders that come out, two siege commanders, Catherine and Narcissus. Now, this is what I recommend doing. You'll need to save up to 880 purple heads to get both of them maxed immediately, and a siege march is actually a pretty insane strategy. It's actually a pretty insane march to have in KVK 2, and you'll be getting really good trades with them. Now for gold heads, free to play and low spenders, and even whales, I would say don't invest into any of the commanders that can be gotten from the tavern. So all of these commanders that you get for completely free, you should not put gold heads into them. The first two options for investing gold heads into commander are Alexander the Great and YSG. Now if you're an infantry player, I recommend going for Alexander the Great. He's an amazing infantry commander. He's super strong. If you're a cav or archer player, I recommend investing in YSG. Now there's a lot of amazing commanders that come in KVK 2 and beyond that you may want to save your gold heads for, such as Louis Che or Arthur. So if you're a whale and you have both of these commanders maxed already, you can choose one of these commanders to max as well. There's a lot of good commanders in here, such as Saladin. Or you could save your gold heads for KVK 3 and beyond and start investing in some of the insane commanders that come then. Now starting civilization is important. I was a noob when I started this game, and I actually started as Britain, and this gives you no good benefits for the early game. So my alliance told me to switch to China, which gives you a 5% building speed and a 5% action point recovery, which is super good for the early game. So ideally you want to start off as China. You get Sun Tzu, which is an amazing commander, and you want to stay as China until you get to City Hall 25, and then you can swap to either France if you're an infantry player, Germany if you're a cav player, or Ottoman Empire if you're an archer player. Now if you're a tier 5 player with multiple marches, I recommend you either go Ottoman because you get a big commander skill damage and troop march speed bonus, or you go France as well because you get a troop health bonus of 3%, which works for all troop types, and a hospital healing speed of 20%, which is super helpful for whoever goes France, to be honest. Now for your farm accounts, I recommend going Japan, an extra resource gathering speed of 5% for all types. Now a huge mistake early game players do is ignore your research. Now the most important part of your power breakdown is your technology power, because research gives direct stat bonuses that will affect your combat Building does not. So you want to prioritize your academy research over everything. Most of your universal speedups in the early game should be going into tech power, and this was a mistake that I did when I started. I focused on my building power a lot, and my tech was behind the curve during KVK 1. I was a lot weaker than what I could have been. Now for tech, the most important tech for combat are these 4 stats, and then it gets into specified, so you wanna focus on your troop type that you're gonna go. So my infantry type is maxed, and then you have another 3 that you need to focus on. Now the 4th mistake that new players do is they spend their gems inefficiently, and I'm guilty of this in the early game. Do not, under any circumstances, go into this shop, buy resources for gems, buy speedups for gems, buy boosts for gems, because now this is for free to play or low spenders, because if you're a whale, you're gonna have a lot more gems and you can spend them a little bit more liberally, but you still should spend your gems efficiently if you're a whale. Now I will give you the top 3 things to spend gems on, and number 1 is obviously VIP. You get a ton of stat bonuses, and starting at VIP 10, you will be receiving gold heads every single day, and it only goes up every 2 levels. So at VIP 12 you get 2 gold heads, and VIP 14 you get 3. You also get a ton of stat benefits, which will help you a lot. The second thing I think you should spend gems on are equipment events. This includes the egg event, the hammer event, and if you want to check out how to spend your gems efficiently on those events, I made a complete guide on gem spending events in a separate video. I will try to put it as a little pop-up right now. I don't really know how this works on YouTube, so if it's not there, just look at my page, scroll down, and you should see it. And the reason this is a really important thing to spend gems on is because your equipment will give you direct damage buffs while fighting. So you should be focusing on your equipment a lot. This is really important if you want to perform well in fights. And the third event you should spend gems on is the Wheel of Fortune, and this event is necessary to unlock new and better commanders in the future, and if you spend more gems on this event, you save on spending gold heads. Now this event is 3rd on my list because it is not amazing it's not amazing because you don't need to play this event when you don't need the commander. So as you can see, I have a lot of commanders down here that I haven't unlocked yet, and it's basically because I'm not spinning the wheel for them because I personally don't want to unlock them. I'm happy with my commanders right now, and I'm going to be putting all my gems into VIP, hopefully to get 14 as soon as possible. Now the 5th is not joining a strong alliance at the beginning of the game. In the first couple of days of your server opening, you should be spending all your AP bottles during the Lohar event and pushing as much power as you possibly can to join a top alliance. This will get you more alliance chests. As you can see, people are purchasing gold, silver, bronze chests, and you get stuff in them, including speed ups. You also get VIP points and gems. So being in a top alliance gives you a big advantage in the early game. So you should be pushing power and aiming to join a top 3 alliance. Ideally you get into the top alliance, but that is not always possible, so aim for a top 3 alliance. A top alliance will be also opening their crystal chests more often, which gives you a ton of rewards such as speed ups, resources, and it gives you some books that you can use in your castle. Now the 6th mistake I see a ton is spreading yourself too thin. What do I mean? In Rise of Kingdoms, if you're not a massive whale, you need to specialize yourself. This means investing in one troop type, building one set of gear, and focusing on 2 commanders that really complement each other. You should really be training more of your one troop that you need so you can fill an army with all the same troop type. This will help you compete against top players, and if you're a free to play or low spender, you have to focus on one march. If you're a whale, you can do multiple. I cannot stress how important this is because you will get wrecked if you try to do more than one march, and materials are so rare that if you want to make really good gear, you have to really specialize. Now the 7th mistake I see is you gotta focus on resource gathering. In the early game, you should be leveling up a couple of your farmers to gather resources for you. Constance is a big one. Sarka, Gaius, Centurion. You should be sending them out constantly throughout the day to be gathering resources. And if you can't log on to kill barbarians or do forts, you have to at least log on to send your farmers out during the day. You should also consider making farm accounts, at least one during the early game, so you can level it up to a decent level and use it in the later game to get extra resources. For KVK, you need a lot of resources just for healing, and even leading up to KVK, you should consider stop upgrading buildings and only upgrading tech, so you can afford to fight a long time in KVK. Now, the 8th mistake I see is you need to rush your city hall. This is not Clash of Clans. You don't need to max every single wall. Trust me, it's a hard adjustment to do if you're coming from Clash of Clans, but you should be rushing your city hall. A big advantage that getting to the next city hall gives you is you can hold more troops. So if you're not at the same level of city hall as someone else, they will get an advantage because they can use more troops than you. So your goal is to get to city hall 24 before KVK, 25 ideally, but it's not always possible. There are only 3 buildings that I think you should always upgrade with your city hall, and they are the Alliance Center, the Academy, and the Tavern. Now the Tavern is required to upgrade your city hall to the next level, but these other 2 are sometimes not required, and you should always be upgrading them. Now, my 9th and final mistake that I see is people not using their AP. Now, I'm, as you can see, full AP bar. I also have a full hospital over capacity. So if I take any more troop damage, they will instantly die. Now, if you're a little bit confused on why my hospital is full, while you're migrating to a new kingdom, you have the option to fill up your hospital to lower your power. Now, this does a couple things, but the main reason you want to lower your power is so the kingdom you're migrating to can invite more players to migrate there. And then after your kingdom reaches the limit, which for my kingdom will be getting to Imperium, you can heal your hospital and push your power more, and you got everyone that you can. Now, using your AP bar will give you a ton of rewards, including gems, resources, speed ups. So you should be spending your AP every day. This is pretty important. And a little bit of a bonus tip is playing every event. Now, this should be obvious, but some people don't play events like Champions of Olympia. And if you look at these quests, they're pretty simple to do, and you get some extra gold heads, extra purple heads, some extra speed ups. And if you look at the challenges, you get equipment material chests, and all of them, extra gold heads, AP, speed ups, a lot of resources. So you do want to be playing these events, even if you don't like them. You gotta push through it. Now, if you really don't like an event, you don't have to play it, obviously. It'll just hurt your account a little bit in the long run, but it's not a big deal. Anyways, that's all I got for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and peace.